So in this next segment, I'm going to be talking about the towing truck turf war that's happening in the GTA. But before we get to that, make sure you guys hit the subscribe button and click on the bell so you never miss a notification. But back to the story. So since January of 2019, there have been 10 towing trucks that have been set ablaze and have been burned beyond repair. In fact, there have actually been 2 people related to the towing truck industry in Ontario that have been fatally shot. And last week, there were 4 towing trucks that were set ablaze in the Peel region. There were even two cases of trucks being set ablaze in Ajax. And things got even dicier last Thursday as a man named Hashim Kanani was shot and killed in a towing truck. And this it happened in Etobicoke in a parking lot of a residential area.
Emergency responders try to reach the driver, but because the tow truck is wedged between 2 vehicles, they can't get to him. Finally, they managed to get the truck in reverse before it smashes into a police cruiser.
I don't know what truck it is, but it's black. And the guy hit like bare cars and
Paramedics are finally able to get the injured man, who police say was shot multiple times, out of the vehicle. But their attempt to save him is in vain.
This has just been a string of various types of crimes. And why we're seeing a spike in all these crimes in the towing truck industry is largely because of the lax regulations that surround the towing industry. So basically, under the current regulations right now, like nearly anyone can be a towing truck driver in Ontario. And a really scary thing that I learned was that out of the 444 municipalities that are in Ontario, only 17 of them have bylaws and regulations regarding the towing truck industry. So like, I mean, who knows like the kind of people that are getting involved in this in this industry. And I think that's also very scary about this is that it's just a very, very competitive industry, and that's part of the problem. Like, so there was even this guy that was he's an owner of a towing truck company in, I believe, Hamilton, and he was telling CBC that, and his name is Gord, he was saying that, like, he tells his drivers that, oh, if there are crashes that happen on a provincial highway, don't go there, because there could be like 5 to 6 different companies that arrive at the scene. And the way the regulations are now, the first towing truck company that arrives at the scene of a crash, then they get the business. And what happens is that a lot of these tow truck companies come at the same time, and then arguments can ensue. People even get assaulted. Like the owner that I just talked about, Gord, he was even assaulted before, and he didn't even want to use his last name in the interview that he did with CBC because that's how scared he is. Like there's like a really serious criminal element to this thing. Now, an interesting thing that happened in June of last year, Toronto Police announced a probe that was called Project Kraken. So Project Kraken was a probe that was undertaken by the police, and what they were trying to do was they were going after gangsters in Scarborough. And 73 people were arrested in this probe, and in this probe they've discovered that some of the people that were arrested, they actually had ties to the towing industry, and some of them, when they were arrested, they happened to have weapons on them. This is kind of evidence that like there's like a criminal underworld with the towing industry. Like there are people getting involved with gangs. And I think what this does is it starts a discussion about increasing regulation around this industry, because it's just way too lax. Like just to give you an idea of how relatively easy it is to get your foot in the door of this industry. You need to pay $250 to get the application in order to get your CVOR license. And CVOR, in case you don't know, that stands for Commercial Vehicle Operating Registration. So just to get that, it costs $250. You also have to do a written test in order to get the CVOR, and that's pretty much the gist of what you need to do in order to like become like to operate a tow truck company. And like it's not even that like difficult, to be honest. Like I think it kind of makes sense to maybe have people do background checks as well too. Now you can make the argument that maybe some of the people that are committing these crimes of arson and maybe even the scumbags that killed that man last week, maybe they didn't even have a criminal record before they went into this business. But I still think that that's a step in the right direction. Also, they should be working on trying to craft policies that are going to make sure that there's more regulations on who can arrive at the scene of a crash. So to avoid like a bunch of different towing truck companies coming at the same time to the scene of a crash, they need to like kind of make sure that like there's a way to determine whether the companies that are arriving at the scene they're like actually they have all of the proper equipment in order to actually tow people's cars. Because the president of the towing association in Ontario, he was saying how oftentimes like some of the towing truck companies that come to the scene of a crash, they're ill-equipped, right? They shouldn't even be there. So I think perhaps maybe they should have a system where you have to inform like a task force, or maybe even just the towing truck association, inform them if you're going to go to the scene, and you have to do an inventory log, and if you don't meet all the requirements of what's needed to attend the scene of a crash, then you wouldn't be able to do business. So I think maybe that would go a step in the right direction of reducing this turf war that's going on. And also, of course, criminal background checks too. I think that's a very important thing, and I'm kind of surprised that they don't even have that right now. Like, my goodness, it's a very scary time to be a towing truck operator, because like at any moment your car could just be doused on fire. Like, this guy was seen running from a towing truck last week in Scarborough, and like these things are happening like in rapid succession. Like that situation I was talking about in Ajax. Like in the span of 15 minutes, 2 towing trucks were set ablaze. So it's just like there's just a bunch of hooligans out here, man. So I really hope that the province implement a province-wide regulation, because if you just let the cities just decide, some of them are not going to even bother to implement regulations. Because again, only 17 of the 444 municipalities have towing truck bylaws and regulations. And now I'm not saying this is a sure way of curbing all of this criminality, but I think it's a step in the right direction. It's better than what we have so far. But yeah, man, that's my thoughts on that.